Hey yo, welcome back to the Boston Sports Brothers podcast. You have Gabe, J Matt, and Kraz this evening. Big E is flying the friendly skies for job number one, so he is unable to join us tonight.
I
And
wonder if he's with Max.
Is he flying United? Anyone know?
we're gonna have to check the manifest and see. And we too have lifted off here on the Boston Sports Brothers podcast this evening, and the Patriots have lifted off with the biggest news of the week. We got a lot to get into, but this is the place to start, obviously. As last week we were talking with Mike Kadlick about Gerard Mayo's firing, and this week we have the return of Mike Vrabel, named the 16th head coach of the New England Patriots today. Let's talk about it. J Matt, you want to kick us off, but lots to dive into with the last week that's transpired with the Patriots for sure.
Yeah, great hire. I mean, I think this was the expected hire. I don't think this was news to anybody or breaking news. It was breaking news yesterday, but I don't think it was super breaking for anybody. Great hire. It's gonna bring stability back to the organization. I think Vrabel is a no bullshit attitude, commanding the room type of coach. And I think he'll bring some culture back to the organization, which we talked about a couple weeks back earlier in the season that they were completely missing culture, and they have been since Tom Brady left, and of course since Belichick left last year. But I think more so since Brady left is when they really lost the culture of the organization. If we're being completely honest. But yeah, he's Vrabel's been a coach at Tennessee. He had success there. He went 54-45 as a coach with Ryan Tannehill. Remind you all, everyone that imagine what he can do with Drake May and hopefully bring the defense back. So open it up to you guys, but I think it's a great hire.
Was he
Yeah,
coach when sorry to interrupt, but
no, you're good.
when Logan Ryan had that interception on Tom Brady?
Yeah,
Was he coaching them?
that was that last game that Brady played in. Logan Ryan intercepted him on that last play, but if you recall, Edelman had a really tough game that game. But Vrabel pulled that clock management trick out of the
Oh
bag
yeah.
that Belichick had versus the Jets earlier in the season. One of the rare times you saw Belichick just with a shit-eating grin on the sideline ear to ear. But yeah, Vrabel was the coach of the Titans at that time. I believe that year they made the AFC Championship game versus Kansas City.
Right, they
Yeah,
beat
I think it was 2021, right? I think, right? I'm pretty sure.
they had some quality
Couple
playoff wins when Vrabel was
19,
was
19
coach.
for that.
19.
Yeah,
When they
Yeah,
they
they beat they beat Baltimore and then they beat the Patriots, which are
they were
no
two and they
teams
were
to sneeze
two and
at.
two and three, is what I have here. They went 11-5 and also 12-5 with Tannehill. So that's really respectable. I mean, I think if the Patriots, you gotta hope for what? Like I don't even know honestly what the roster they have. I don't even want to predict wins, but I just hope they can bring a foundation back to the building blocks because we really need it.
Kraz, what
So
are your
yeah, I just
takes?
wanted to touch on just really kind of give Gerard his parting dues and I mean it sucks because the guy got kind of handed the keys to a brand new organization, well, like a brand new quarterback, a brand new style of play, and he never coached a day in his fucking life. So he was really given an unfair hand, I feel. I said from day one he wasn't the right hire at the time. It's not to mean that he's not going to be a good coach, 5 years down the line, like Vrabel did, going to Ohio State and then to Tennessee and then a consultant for Cleveland, and now he's with us. But I was thinking about it, and it really was just like having this guy that was removed, 5 or 6 years from the league, who was really just that only really knew how to play one position. So it really, you would have expected to see a lot of rise in the linebacker game, but we really didn't even see that at all. So it really just because I was trying to think like where did this team really go wrong, and like was it a culture thing? Was it really a clubhouse thing? And there was no clubhouse. Guys were able to do what they wanted to do, and that's why they
Yeah.
seemed so like laid back. And for me, I thought there was a culture of some sort, but looking back on it, there was no culture, unfortunately, and he wasn't the right guy for the job. Vrabel obviously is the right guy for the job. It's just unfortunate that this had to happen. Belichick had to leave when Vrabel, I believe, was still with Tennessee, so he couldn't really make that move at that time. But yeah, I mean, Vrabel's the right guy. We all know that coming in. He is gonna bring an identity in. That's gonna, that I don't know who which former second QB that we had put out that video and was like, "Oh, you rookies better keep your buttholes tight, because Belichick, not Belichick, because Vrabel's coming and he knows he's
That
gonna
was
ask about every single person."
that was actually Taylor Lewan, who works for Barstool
Thank
now,
you.
bussing with the boys with
Mm.
Compton,
Yeah, yeah.
Will
He was a
Compton.
tackle.
But yeah, he was the
Yeah,
left
big boy.
Okay,
tackle
okay, okay,
on
okay.
the Titans.
Big boy.
But Kraz, I got to give you a ton of credit because you kind of just summarized your takes from the entire season in your synopsis right there. Like you called that it wasn't the right hire with Gerard. We obviously know everything that transpired during the season. He got a raw deal at the end of the day. The fact of the matter is, and we've talked about this, is
Yeah.
like the Crafts made the wrong decision, and there's several reasons why. They went in the direction they did with Mayo, and they had to undo the wrong because of everything that we've talked about over the course of the season. I'm excited for Vrabel. I think it's part one. It's step one of resetting everything here. You know, we know what he's going to bring, and we know the kind of guy that he is. Um, the question is, can they now take that next step and free agency and the roster?
Build on
And
the momentum.
yeah,
Mhm.
I think that's what I'm most excited about. It's like I feel like Vrabel is a guy that can lead us through the entire process of what a football team goes through on a yearly basis. Like it's not just a season, it's from today forward. You know, he talked about accountability a lot today, and I think that that's going to be the theme throughout the course of the team. It's like you're it's going to be Belichick like, but I think Vrabel has a little bit more touch, if you will.
Yeah, and he's the right guy because he's been a coach before in the league. And he's also been a coach in the college game, like Sam said. And I think that's what Gerard Mayo is going to have to do, unfortunately. I think he's going to have to go back to the college game to get any type of coaching role to get back into the league because he was just dealt a bad hand and it was just an awful year. But that's why Vrabel is competent. He's going to bring back that culture, like you said, and he's going to bring back that day one attitude of this is what we need to do to get our foot in the ground and get on the right track. It's a great hire, and I love it. I love how he's been a coach before, and you just can't, Gerard. He can't. You have to be a head coach at some point in your career to I think even to become a head coach in the NFL. It's really tough to become a first year head coach and make it. It's really tough.
Yeah, I
Absolutely.
mean,
Go ahead, Gabe.
it's for me personally, it's no John Gruden, but no, I'm happy. I don't know. I at first I wasn't. Um, I don't know. Vrabel didn't really move the needle for me, I guess you could say. But as soon as like I started getting all the breaking news, Patriots hire Mike Vrabel, like I think I like something switched and I did get really excited. I think he does bring culture back. He's more of a Belichick Parcells type, but he's younger. He can relate more with the players. Maybe like Sam kind of said, how Gerard Mayo, it was kind of the exact opposite of what Belichick had in the locker room, and now we're kind of going back with Vrabel to the Belichickian way, but maybe a bit, you know, a bit changed in a way as well.
Yeah, I think another thing too is like who else sort of fills out this coaching roster with him
Mhm.
because now what's to come is the offensive and defensive side of the ball and who are you looking at for coordinators potentially? There's been a lot of chatter about McDaniel's
Mhm.
excuse me, potentially coming back. Indifferent about that. Wouldn't be my first choice. I'd love to see them go out and find someone that uh, has been coaching in the league the past couple of years potentially. Um, you know, don't go all the way back, if you will. And like there needs to be some change, and Vrabel has changed, but like don't just make it the same as it was and expect the same results, I think. And defensively, I think that, you know, they'll be much better with a guy like Vrabel leading that charge. So it's gonna be fascinating. Like we have another fascinating offseason ahead of us. Karen Garigian, who got an amazing shout out from Vrabel today, saying she hasn't aged a day in 20 years, was going to be joining us this evening, and obviously she's incredibly busy with all the news that's transpired over the last 48 hours. So Karen will come on with us in a couple of weeks. We'll do some draft and free agency talk. But let's talk a little bit about that. Any thoughts on draft, free agency, the coaching staff as we move
Well,
forward?
real quick, I think it's all a shock to everyone that Elliot Wolf is still in the building and still going to be making, I guess, decisions that we think. What's your take on that, guys? I'm shocked about that.
Yeah, well, it is really interesting because Vrabel, before the ink is still wet on the contract, and he's already bringing in some guy to help him in the front office. Ryan Cowden, I guess,
Yep.
is coming on board now, helping out in the war room a little bit. That'll be an interesting dynamic to keep an eye on. I'm curious to see where like Elliot Wolf's standing will be as like the offseason kind of goes on. Like as of right now, the Crafts have kind of given him full grace to lead in that aspect. But Vrabel's not a quiet guy, and he'll say it how it is. No bullshit guy, like you said, J Matt. And like if Elliot Wolf is not doing the job he expects, then you could see other and bringing in other guys to change that room a little bit.
I was just gonna say, what do you guys think about Elliot? Do you guys see an Elliot Wolf resignation in the future or parting of ways?
I don't know. I think if he has a job and they go through this off season to get look, I'm okay with Elliot Wolf being around as long as Vrabel is being allowed to do the other thing as well and bring in the guys that he wants. I think Gruden, speaking of Gruden, Gabe, he did an interview with a couple of Barstool guys and was talking about, it was last Monday, and he was talking about like the off season for coaches. And one of the things when you're going through a head coaching interview is one of the things they ask is like, who are you bringing with you? Like who from where you've worked previously, or who do you sort of plan to round out your coaching staff and front office with? So Vrabel clearly told Kraft, like, Cowden's coming with me. It seems like there's another guy that he had in an Ernie Adams like role called Stretch, that's supposed to be
Whoa.
potentially joining. So I'm cool. I'm okay with Elliot Wolf sticking around. And Teddy Bruschi said something as well, like the everyone there was so much emphasis on collaboration with Gerard, and it's like you kind of need one or two people in the room to
Lead
be
the
like,
way.
this is, yeah, you want collaboration, you want input, but at the end of the day, like, you want the brain trust or the people that are, leading the team. So Wolf, Cowden, and Vrabel now to be in lockstep with one another. But I have to assume that Vrabel sort of is like, if it comes push to shove, he has the final say. It'll be, I don't know, we'll see, we'll see.
I'd also
Um,
like to think that Vrabel is going to be really great for the with the defense
yeah,
because the defense was not much different than it was 2 years ago when Belichick was here, and they were, I think, a top 10, that could be a stretch, maybe a top 12 defense in the league with the parts that they had. So bring back a lot of the same, even if a lot of the good players, I mean, there are definitely going to be some changes, draft some new blood in here. I like Vrabel for the defense a lot. I think they're going to show vast improvement. I mean, they can't really go they can't go
Well,
backwards from last year.
no, I know like Plotty, you touched on it. Like Josh McDaniels is kind of the leading candidate in everybody's eyes right now to take over the offense, but that's kind of the area that still worries me right now is what's the offensive plan here? I mean, clearly Vrabel got hired with a plan in mind, so I'm just curious to see like how that plays out. And I think if Josh McDaniel, I mean, if he comes in and it doesn't really excite me, but at least he's a competent offensive coordinator who could help Drake May develop in the future.
that's undoubted. I mean, you look at the
Mhm.
first year of Mac Jones and what he was able to do, and you've seen what Mac Jones did without Josh McDaniels, and it's a stark contrast. So I do think that he has the ability to work well with a quarterback and develop. I'm not opposed to that. I don't even know any like defensive names that are out there that they should be going after. Maybe
You go
Sala.
like Brian's Flores,
Is he going to make a
Sala.
lateral move though
I don't know.
from Minnesota?
Well, see,
Yeah.
but that's the good thing about having Vrabel as a head coach is you already have a guy that's been a defensive coordinator that's already been in that kind of that role, so he has that
You
opportunity
said the same
to
thing
be
about
able to bring
Mayo
in.
though.
Yeah, but Mayo was never a coordinator.
Yeah.
At least
Mhm.
Vrabel has had the opportunity as a defensive coordinator with two different teams at the collegiate level and then also at the professional level. So you now have the leverage to bring in a guy that's a little bit younger that Vrabel can kind of coach in that defensive, mind. Where at the end of the day, when push comes to shove, when Vrabel's down and he's got his hands on his knees and he's watching the game, who's actually it's a team effort as to who's making
Mhm.
the call, but who's really making the call with the defense.
We're saying
It's a
all the
yeah.
go ahead. Go ahead.
No, that's a I like that Sam. I think that's a good that I think McDaniels could be good in that role because he knows the offense. He was a head coach. So when Vrabel's dealing with that defensive coordinator and the defense really taking them under their wing, his wing, I think McDaniels could be very valuable in that role. I didn't really think about that. So I like that take. I do. I do like it.
There's part of me that says, with everything that's transpired, and we've talked about why they didn't do this, but had you brought in Vrabel last year, does Mayo potentially become the defensive coordinator and get that experience? And who knows? But that's revisionist history. Lots to be figured out for the Patriots. Lots to be figured out in terms of the roster. Health will be a big thing for them, and hopefully they come back healthy on both sides of the ball. Got to shout out Christian Gonzalez, who made the All-Pro second team at cornerback. Really, he had a spectacular season.
Snubbed.
He is a player that should be built around, and the secondary should be a strong point, especially with Vrabel scheming things up. But let's shift gears a little bit, fellas, in terms of the NFL and talk the product that is still on the field with Wild Card Weekend taking place. 6 games this weekend, so a busy slate. Let's go back to, I believe Saturday was the day where we had Baltimore and Pittsburgh play. So anything from that game, any takeaways that anybody had? The take today was from Big Jim Murray was the Pittsburgh Steelers or the Boston Bruins of the NFL.
They're just yeah, they're so bad. They walked into the playoffs, didn't they? They limped
They
in.
lost 4 in a row.
And Justin Fields, how many wins did he have for them actually out of the 10 wins that they had? And how many wins did Russell Wilson have? Like, I'm actually genuinely curious about that. So I don't know. That's a weird team. It's a really weird team.
That was an expected result in my eyes. Baltimore is way better than Pittsburgh this year. Pittsburgh has great defense.
Yes.
They started them in fantasy all year long, and they did great.
Yeah.
But Baltimore was winning that game.
They're just a house this year.
Yeah, Russell Wilson is a shell of what he was when he was in the Super Bowl against the Patriots back in the day, and it's just that was kind of an obvious one.
Interesting. I forgot about this game that was before that game, and that's the Houston and LA Chargers game where Justin Herbert turned into Mac Jones, throwing 4 interceptions, which was more interceptions in that game than he had the entire season. Just a complete unraveling of Justin Herbert in that game. Any takeaways from that game? I was very surprised at that result.
Big time. That this all happened after is it Jim or John Harbaugh? Whichever Harbaugh
Jim
it was
Harbaugh
got sucked up. Jim Harbaugh got sucked up by the dirty bubble, and then they just completely shit the bed and went flat. That was terrible. I mean, he didn't have anyone to throw to except for Lad McConkey, and I mean, it was I feel bad for Justin Herbert because he went from having an Austin Eckler and Keenan Allen and Mike Williams to not much there left now.
Whenever I hear Lad McConkey or see him on the field, I just like shed a little tear. Like the Patriots fucking traded that pick to the Chargers. Like, come on. But that game, I give Houston their kudos. I think was it Rex Ryan who was spouting off on ESPN saying I forget what he said exactly, but basically gave Houston like no chance in that game, and they look like they took it personally. That was some bulletin board material, and they proved it on the field. That was a good game.
Yeah, very surprising result there. Houston marches on. They've overcome a lot this season where they had injuries to their wide receivers. Stephon Diggs goes down for the year. They had that whole controversy with Al-Shaair and that situation in Jacksonville. So they're kind of that team that is flying under the radar here. They're going to take on the Chiefs next week, so a tall task at hand for them, but credit to them for getting that first round win. We moved to Sunday where we had 3 games where the Philadelphia Eagles pull one off against Green Bay. Jordan Love, terrible.
He's hurt.
Yeah, he is. And
that's a bad game.
It was
a bad
really
game.
Had nothing.
Yeah. I mean, you would expect a lot more from Philadelphia. Jalen Hurts, I guess, was coming off that concussion, so maybe he was a little rusty there. They're lucky to come out of that game with a win and move on. Hopefully they clean it up, and I don't know who they're playing next. I guess we don't really know matchups just yet,
Not yet, yeah.
Tonight's
but
game.
that game was probably the worst one of maybe the whole weekend.
You know who I'd love to see Philly play next in the playoffs if they, I don't think it's going to be, they're not because the lowest seed is going to play. The top seed is going to be, I would love to see Washington though play Philly. Washington eked it out last night against the Bucks. Did anyone watch the end there, the kicker?
Oh yeah.
Dude, he was, I don't know if anyone caught this. I'm really into like telltale signs of like if someone's nervous or not. The dude was scratching his head like a million times before he was going out to kick the field goal. It was very weird. I said to myself, he's gonna miss his field goal. And he didn't miss it, but boy, did he doink it. He doinked it right in. It was
One more
crazy.
scratch, and that was doinking out.
Oh man, he was nervous. You could clearly tell, and it showed. But yeah, they pulled it out. Washington's for real. Jaden Daniels is legit. You got to give him his kudos.
Hey, I mean that was definitely the best game of the entire weekend. Jaden Daniels absolutely legit in that end of the game drive. He comes around the edge and was able to get past the defensive nose tackle to get that first down to pretty much wind the clock down. Yeah, Zane Gonzalez, I believe is his name, was having a whole lot go on the sidelines beforehand. Someone says he has OCD, but like you got to know there's cameras all on you, man. Like, uh, but kudos to him. He snuck one in there, and Washington, I think, picks up their first playoff win in 12 years. So good on them. Terry McLaurin as well is just such a steady, great wide receiver.
Stud.
Well,
What a
and,
stud.
Yeah, and Jaden Daniels has him to throw to. So I mean, it's like
Austin
he's always
Eckler
been
too
Mr.
really was
Consistent.
a difference maker in that game.
My keeper.
When he's healthy, he's going. Game we completely forgot about just
The
because it was
Bills.
a complete
The Bills,
blowout
yeah. There was that
Bills.
one play. That one play in the beginning, the 63 or the 35
For what
yard
Denver
touchdown.
Knicks?
Yeah. I forgot to who it was, and then after that, the Bills just came out and just showed them who they were.
Them. Yeah.
Yeah.
That was
It's next Sunday. I'm going to be really excited for Baltimore and Buffalo. That game is going to be really fun.
yeah. I think that's the one that's circled on the calendar for everybody.
Don't
next
touch
week.
that. Don't touch that game.
Is two probably the leaders in the
Juggernauts.
clubhouse for MVP going up against it in the divisional round. Buffalo has kind of taken over the Patriots' role in the AFC East. Obviously, they haven't had the same sort of success, but from the division
5 years in a row.
So it'll be great. That should hopefully be a fascinating game.
Better them than the Jets, though. I got to say.
Yeah, and you gotta go ahead.
I like Buffalo.
I was going to say,
personally.
I have a takeaway from the playoffs first round wild card weekend was that all the favorites won except Washington, and we haven't seen. We're recording on Monday, so we haven't seen the Monday Night Football game tonight, which is the Vikings versus the Rams. And shout out to LA with all the craziness going on. We'll get into that later, and it's really sad what's going on there. But shout out and prayers up for everyone in LA. But yeah, all the favorites won. It like pretty handily, except I guess maybe I wouldn't say Philly won handily, but for the most part, and then the Washington, who pulled it out, they doinked it. So a lot of the favorites really win in the wild card round. You see that they move on. And a lot of these like 10-win teams like Pittsburgh that we were just talking about, they're not for real. They're really not. And also another betting thing was that all the unders hit. Every single under hit for sure. And like they were all in like the low to mid 40s for the scores. So keep that in mind.
Next week, take the overs.
I don't know. No. I think everything tightens up in the playoffs.
Undoubtedly. The physicality and the focus of the teams was, you could tell it was playoff football, but that's when I think, those games were pretty much decided by the talent on the field, I think, in what team had more going for it. Shout out to Denver for making the playoffs with a rookie quarterback. Sean Payton has turned that organization around, hopefully in a way that, Vrabel can sort of do what's been done here. Before we move on to the Celtics, let's keep the football theme going just for one more minute. Quick college football, because it was a spectacular week of football going back to last Thursday, where oh God, what was the game? Notre Dame,
man, that was a great game.
Pulls out the win, and Ohio State pulls out the win. So any thoughts from either of the college football games and setting up for Notre Dame Ohio State championship on, I believe, MLK Day next Monday. So we're going to have to get our recording all straight for next week. We got Celtics Golden State at 5 and then that at 8:30. So rapid fire Boston sports stories. But any takeaways from any of the college football games?
I mean, yeah, that
Um,
Notre Dame game was fun. I mean, that kid Riley, is his name Riley Leonard, the quarterback. I mean,
oh
he was laying it up.
yeah,
That kid was really good. They were both really entertaining games to see. Gabe, I
True.
watched which one? Ohio State with you?
yeah. I think we watched Ohio
Yeah,
State together. Um, that was also a pretty good game. What was I thinking? The game before Penn State. It was a
Drew
great.
Allard, you have a comment on that?
No, my family is all from Pennsylvania. They all went to Penn State, so I kind of have a rooting interest in them. They always let you down, and I'm glad I'm not like actually a fan of Penn State. But the one thing that it was a good opportunity for was to look at some of the draft prospects, and
Hmm.
agreed.
one of their defensive linemen was playing Abdul Carter
Carter.
or
Yeah, Mike
Yeah,
Cadlick.
Abdul
yeah.
Our
Carter.
friend Mike Cadlick last week mentioned
This
him.
guy had black paint on his face that said Darth Vader on it. I was immediately like, let's
You
get this
need him.
guy. Like that is so badass. I don't know
And that other
why.
dude, Kelvin something,
Kelvin
Yeah,
Banks from Texas.
Kelvin
Kelvin
Banks, we could
Banks.
see
He's a
him.
beast, man.
He's
He's
a
a
big
beast.
boy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think the playoff formatting like with the four teams is great. I think they might need to look at it though. I think for the future to say, do we need all of every team from every big conference in it, or is it just because like some of these like the Boise States, like are they really big enough and good enough to play with the Penn States and the Ohio States of the world? So it's just something to think about,
I
I
think
think.
that's what the playoff was created for, though, is to get a sense of like, do these teams belong together? So I think we got to let it ride a little bit longer and go through a few more seasons with the format. I love that there's 12 teams and that there's more opportunity for there to be teams that are getting in. There was always the discussion when it was just the four teams that someone was getting boned in some way, shape, or form. So at
Yeah.
least with this, you feel like everybody has a fighting chance. And you look at it like the number one, number two seeds aren't in it. Ohio State looking to avenge that terrible loss to the Wolverines of Michigan. Uh, and probably if they win, and I think they're heavily favored to win, that's a pretty successful story to come back from that kind of loss and use it as motivation. Now, the Michigan fans in Portnoy will point to the fact that they lost to them in that championship season, but you don't count losses to Michigan if you're winning natties. So looking forward to that game. Should be really good. Shout out to Jack Sawyer, who had what was one of the most unbelievable defensive plays at the end of a game to seal it, just a 80 plus yard scoop and score to seal the deal. So looking forward to what's ahead in the college football slate. So we've talked a shitload of football over the past 30 minutes or so. So it's time to turn the page and talk a little green and dive into the Celtics, who last week were out on a Western Conference road trip where they go 3-1, and for the most part, pretty successful. They come back home. Have a really tough fourth quarter against Sacramento.
Hmm.
And then last night, take
Tough
on
game.
the Pelicans, where that end of the game situation was absolutely nuts. So let's dive
Mhm.
into the week that was for the Celtics. Any takeaways from the Western Conference road trip and then the previous two games at home? Big E's not with us, so it's round robin here for the C's.
Yeah, no, I think the boys did exactly what they were supposed to do over on the West Coast. I mean, obviously you want to win every single game. You're not going to go 82-0, but you come back 3-1. I think that's great. When you get back here, you lose to the Sacramento Kings. That was an ugly game. Gabe and I watched that. It was just I don't
Sabonis, huh?
Oh, he
He
is a
set the
I
monster.
rebounding record
28.
at
What
the
was it?
Garden.
28 rebounds or something silly
Absolute
like that.
monster.
And yeah, I I feel like they're like. I don't want to say they're disinterested in the regular season because clearly you have to play 82 games and you still need to actually get to the postseason in order to get the thing done. But it just seems like there's this like kind of like lack of interest or maybe a midseason slump or as we alluded to before, they went from going all the way playing till June and then four of our guys or three of our
Mhm.
guys are going overseas to go play in the Olympics. So is there some sort of kind of hangover here? And do we just kind of lull this out and just kind of worry about in my eyes, worry about it, you know, 3 quarters into this, with the season left and 1 quarter to go, and those last however many games, 20 games, is that final really push. I think you're going to see this team start lighting it up.
I think
Yeah.
Sam, to your point, is they've played a lot of basketball over the last what year plus. It is probably catching up to them. And then you've also people like Porzingis, who's coming back from injury, rehabbing for a lot of the summer and fall. So he's obviously probably just getting back into the swing of things, and he's been ripping it up lately. I don't know if you guys have been watching, but I think he's got
Mhm.
I'm not sure how many double doubles in a row. It could be it's a bunch. I think he's got a bunch of double doubles in a row, but he's clearly getting back to real form, and what he's supposed to be. So that's a real positive for us and for the Celtics to move forward. But yeah, I think they might have a little bit of that malaise of the season and a little bit of the just fatigue hitting them.
But don't you love how like the players and Joe Mazzulla respond to the criticism,
Mm.
like as compared to the Patriots? Jelani Tavai on a rocket ship somewhere. He called out the fan base for booing them and the fire Mayo chants, but when Celtics fans start criticizing the C's for playing like shit, um, they like that. They like the challenge. I mean, you got Porzingis saying, like that he enjoys the booze. Like it makes him like more motivated to play better. And Mazzulla is on the mic, saying, if we're going through these struggles and getting all this criticism, we're still the third best team in the NBA right now. Like this is a good position to be in. This is not something to look negatively at. It's a challenge to look at on how to improve and get better towards the end of the season.
Yeah, I mean, we were going back and forth a little bit with Gary Washburn on Twitter, and Gary had written a story after the Oklahoma City game that they needed, potential help when it comes to scoring off the bench and improving the depth a little bit, which I don't disagree with, and we've talked about Stevens potentially tinkering with the roster. Uh, but what he also said is that, Cleveland and Oklahoma City are boat racing the league and are having these unbelievably historic seasons. Like it's time it's time to give your Cleveland Cavaliers the credit they deserve, J Matt.
I mean, they're killing
Them
it.
in Oklahoma City are just playing unbelievable basketball on a whole nother level. The Celtics are pretty much almost and not quite as good as last year's team from a number standpoint, but they're pretty close to that. But when you see these other two teams, I agree with everything that you guys have said and what Missoula said. Like it's in a good position to be looking up in the standings and know that there are other teams who have improved, and that they're going to have to elevate their play and lock in on another level. So it'll be interesting to see. The trade deadline is 3 weeks away now, so if they're looking at any moves there, February 6th is the day for that. So we'll see. Go
I
ahead,
will
J
think the
Matt.
one thing that thing that scares me a little bit is when they have these bigs like Sabonis and Rudy Gobert and Jared Allen and Mobley, the bigs in Cleveland, is they have a really tough time with rebounding, and they got killed on the glass against Sacramento. I think that's a really big reason why they lost.
Mhm.
And that's really concerning to me. Even when we have Porzingis out there, even when we have Horford out there, it's just the rebounding is a little bit of a question mark when you're facing a team with really good bigs, and that could hurt them in the playoffs. So I think it might be something that Stevens could address, but it's tough because you have a lot of bigs on the roster already. So it's a tough position that they're in right now, I think.
Yeah, I would be, that Jaden Springer has been talked about potentially being moved on from. I would, we just talked about the the size that you might need. Kata could be a trade chip, a Luke Cornett could be a trade chip. They're fan favorites, I understand that, but if you need a little bit of beef, if you will,
JD Davidson,
yeah.
yeah,
So
those
you
guys from
don't
They
the
forget.
league.
have, yeah, they have trading chips. I mean, they have all their picks.
Yep.
I think I was seeing they have all their first round picks for the next years to come. One guy that popped out to me when I was looking today was Walker Kessler from the Utah Jazz. He's like a seven
Mhm.
foot center.
There you
He's
go.
been a
That
bit
helps us a lot
injured.
with any age.
Yeah, he's been a little injury plagued this season, but that's a guy that I think they're really looking at. I think his salary is around like $2.9 million. So
Cheap.
yeah, right, exactly. Super cheap. You're not really having to move too much cap there to get him.
Don't
And
worry,
you have a
Seymour. You'll be good, Seymour. It's not that
yeah,
much. Calm down.
you have a friend
Calm
in
down,
Dan.
Peter. It's all right, Peter. You're not going to lose your inheritance.
Well, you have a friend in Danny Ainge over there too. So
Exactly.
another team that's looking at Walker Kessler is the LA Lakers. You
It's
think
picks, picks, picks,
Danny Ainge
picks.
is who do you think he would rather trade Walker Kessler to?
Mhm.
So that's an exciting potential name to keep an eye out for. But I'm sure names will be popping up left and right as we get closer to the deadline.
Be interesting to see if there's like any major players on the move over the deadline. Obviously, the whole
Butler.
Jimmy
yeah,
Butler.
Jimmy
Mhm.
Yeah, he's
Butler.
gone.
What a what a
He's gone.
situation down there.
Do,
Pretty
do, do,
much just
do, do,
quit on
do,
the Miami
do,
Heat.
do.
Unbelievable.
Throwing
And
shade at Pat Riley.
I mean,
Where would he go? Milwaukee?
who wants to take that on?
Yeah. At this point, why
That's
would you
that's
want
my
even
question.
even with his talent to try to have to gel this late in the season is very tough.
Yeah.
And like, if you look at the league right now, you really think that there are what, four, maybe five teams that have a legitimate shot at winning the title here. Uh, I don't know if you would put another team over the top. Chris Middleton for him would be interesting.
Oh yeah.
Uh,
That's what I saw,
I
yeah.
just him, Dame, and Giannis seem like a powder
They
keg
they,
that's ready to
they all
blow.
need the ball.
Imagine
Right.
if Jimmy goes
They
to
all need the ball.
Milwaukee.
Yeah, that'd be something. And then you
That'd be
got Doc.
crazy.
You'd
From
have
Miami
Doc.
to Milwaukee. Oof.
Doc is the coach. I mean that you need to
Train
get
wreck.
Netflix in there or HBO for a little behind the scenes
Oh,
action.
I thought the honest was the coach.
Nah, he needs his brother close by just in case.
Oh my God.
Uh, but the
Fuck that
Celtics
guy.
have an insane stretch here as the All-Star break, obviously mid February. They'll get some time off to recalibrate. Probably you'll see Tatum and Brown become All-Stars again for their seventh, eighth year, whatever it is at this point. But they have 16 games over a 30-day stretch, playing all over the country. So it'll be interesting to see, do they start to ascend and you sort of start to see them, get to a point where they're blowing out teams, or, does this midseason sort of funk still continue to sort of play over them? But listen, they're in a place where they're going to make the playoffs. Health is what's most important, and once they get to the playoffs, it as we saw with the NFL, things sort of change. Physicality picks up, the lock in, and the focus goes to another level. And this team has been there and done that, and their experience should help them. But a team that talking about something hanging
Ooh.
over them and what's been a roller coaster ride is the Boston Bruins. And it's just been a season that I don't think we can put our finger on in terms of what expectations are, where this team is going. It literally changes week in and week out, Gabe, doesn't it?
It does. I mean, I'm calling out Swayman last week. I'm calling out someone different this week. It's like we just have
Revolving door.
no idea what's going on. Apparently, Brad Marchand and David Pastrnak are the worst of friends.
Can we
Keith.
They
talk
hate
about
each
that?
other. They hate each
Yeah.
other.
Keith.
So I was talking to Sam about this earlier. I think there is some truth into Keith's reporting. I don't think that the trouble is between Brad and Pasternak. I think it's between Brad and maybe some other characters in
Women.
the in the locker room, maybe
It's
Swayman
definitely Brad.
or Elias
IMO.
Lindholm or Zadorov. Like he is the captain, so I'm sure he's trying to exert his kind of like his captain whatever. Like he needs to
Influence.
be a force in the locker room. So maybe it's rubbing people the wrong way, and that could be a reason why they're not playing up to par.
I just think they're, like I said last week, I think they're just they had the coaching bump. They got the bump. Like that's what it was supposed to do. They got it. They were playing great for like a month and a half, maybe close to 2 months. And now I think we're seeing like what they really are. They have 47 points and they're in fourth, and Montreal's in seventh place right now, and they're at 44 points, three points back. So like the difference between fourth and seventh place is it's pretty close, and like that's a drastic drop, like going from fourth to seventh. So I don't know, like anything could happen in the rest of the way, but I don't feel great about it. I hate to be that pessimist, but like I've seen this team and like watching this, when you watch these games, do you feel like they're just like producing the way that they have been in the past couple of years even? I just don't think they are. I can't see it, but
No,
I'll say myself.
I see flashes maybe, like a period or two where they're playing their asses off and it looks really good. They obviously can't score because they have no offense, but um, there are like glimmers there, but they just can't piece it together for the full 60 minutes, and it's extremely frustrating. I mean, they finally snapped a 6 game losing streak. They did beat the Florida Panthers. That game was absolutely nuts. I don't know if any of you guys were watching it, but Florida scored to tie it up in the third period with maybe a second left in the
3 seconds, I think. Yeah, it was
So
stupid.
Bruins. Like if anything is so Bruins this year, that was so Bruins. And then somehow the Bruins pull it off in overtime, doing pretty much the same exact thing to Florida and scoring with like another second on the clock. Like, so I mean, if you want to be optimistic, that's a tough team to beat for the Bruins right now. Getting a W in Florida against the Panthers, that maybe that lights a fire under their ass. I mean, I don't know. I also, Josh, like feel how you are feeling as well. But as like an avid Bruins fan, I'm like still trying to like hold on to hope a little bit. And so that's me holding on hope a little. Maybe this lights a little fire under their ass.
They need something to get them going, and I don't know if that's a move here at the deadline to bring somebody in to sort of shake things up. Is a question that I have for the group is Don Sweeney and Neely on the hot seat. Is
Oh
this as
yeah.
hot as it's been for them for a while?
Yep.
Yeah, this
Yeah.
has to be the hottest it's been in a long time. I mean, they're on the verge of not making the playoffs.
Yeah.
And that's the Jacobs family. That's pretty much the only metric they measure for Sweeney and Neely's success, clearly. So if that doesn't happen, clearly like there's really nothing in the pipeline either for the Bruins. It's just things are going downhill. I think they're going to start going downhill pretty quickly. Um, I think by end of season, Sweeney and Neely might have been canned.
There's no way they make it. I'm
I,
sorry, there's just
I
no way.
just
Like,
I just hope like because there's big names on the trade market right now with JT Miller, Elias Pettersson. Like these are two really good players that Vancouver are kind of looking to move. Um, I would hate to see Sweeney just like trade picks and players and just to bring these guys in to kind of save his job with the Bruins. And then it would leave this team in shambles. Like
mhm.
the rebuild would be really tough.
Now, you know what is a complete possibility is over the next week they go ahead and win 3 games in a row after, beating Florida here in overtime, and then everything's sunshine, rainbows, and butterflies for that week. So there's a very very real possibility that, things could turn around for them. One thing that has happened is Swayman has looked a little bit better over the past couple games, but they have a problem scoring the puck and getting, scoring goals. And then when they get into having to protect their 1 or 2 goal lead at the end of games, they just cannot put teams away. And that's been something that this team has had a problem with uh, dating back to last season as well. They would have third period leads and just, cough it up, and then they get to overtime, and you're getting the point, but you need 2 points here to keep yourself
Mhm.
firmly in the
You need
playoffs.
more. Well,
You need to
I'm
fucking
so
win.
got yeah, I'm looking at the schedule and they have so many huge games coming up. They have a huge game against the Tampa Bay again. They need to pick up the 2 points against them. They're behind them right now by 2. And then you have 2 more against the Senators coming up, which is they're right behind them. So I think over the next like 2 weeks, we're really gonna find out if this team's gonna be moving up, moving on, or what the deal is. These are some huge games they have coming up.
Yeah, you can't lose to any of these division
No.
teams right now. You
Well,
can't.
so the Bruins are at put up or shut up time here in January, which hasn't been a familiar sight for them, but here they are. So, we're hopeful that they'll get their act together and be able to get into the playoffs, but lots of questions to be answered for the Bruins. And we'll move onward to the baseball team who had their winter Fenway Festival Palooza this weekend, where the players and
Woo!
ownership and management and the many folks of the Fenway faithful come out of the woodwork to go take
Garrett
a
put on
picture
his
with,
jersey.
Let's
go,
go
yeah,
Red
go
Sox.
take a
Let's
picture
go
with
Red
Wally,
Sox.
walk around the warning track, sign the Green Monster scoreboard. It's a nice weekend for all the people over there at Fenway Park. They charge you $85 for the privilege of going to that event. But in all seriousness, I know I'm being sarcastic right now. It looked to be a really good time, and people who went seemed to enjoy it. And I think this is the most buzz that there's been around the Red Sox in quite some time after the offseason that they've had. Kraz, what's the latest and greatest? Any takeaways from the Fan Fest this weekend or any offseason updates just in general?
No, I mean, you pretty much hit the nail on the head. You know, there were a lot of Redditors on the Boston subreddit that were, posting pictures of their time and families and all that kind of stuff there. So it seemed like it really was a good time. I know Devers, Poppy, and one other person weren't able to make it. But either way, still it was good to see them put that on. I know that Walker Bueller is trying to get another right-handed bat to come to the Sox. That's really, really what we need. Um, hasn't really
Great.
been much traction as far as
That was a great
like
interview with Section 10 that he did.
yeah. I like Bueller. He's going to be a really, really great addition to this team. He's got that Boston it factor, if you want to call it, where he'll be. I can see him having a really shitty game and being able to deal with the media, whereas we've had some other players that have been here and just have not been able to handle that at all. Kind of like I talked to you about, everyone's kind of oohing and eyeing over what the Yankees did as far as their bullpen, and like I told you on Friday, it was like Devin Williams is coming from Milwaukee, this tiny market where the media there caused him to like smash a bunch of things and have all these mental freakouts. And you think he's going to do okay in New York City? Oh man, he's going to get crucified by the media there. So I mean, if I really, really want to see them get a right-handed bat, if they get a right-handed bat, I'll feel so much more better about this team, and I'll feel confident in saying they'll be able to compete with the Yankees for the AL East, just because of arms alone, because their offense is already there. They just need to replace Tyler O'Neill essentially for the most part. So we'll
Health
see.
is wealth. Health is wealth.
And then the whole Jaron Duran arbitration deal. I mean,
Pay him the 500K. Come on now.
you can go on either side. I can see where the Red Sox are coming from. He did a bunch of stuff throughout the year where, yeah, he should deserve that extra money, but he also did some stuff where he rightfully might not deserve that money by saying some things to fans. There were some other things that he just posted on his own Instagram that was really just not the right place, not the right time,
Can
kind
I
of a thing.
can I ask you a question? Because one thing that sort of came out of this weekend is that Roman Anthony and Christian Campbell they're looking at giving deals to. Like
Hmm.
why has Duran not been on that list as somebody who would potentially also get a deal given his I understand the off the field issues, but given his play on the field and what he did last season, like that doesn't make much sense to me.
Yeah, I don't, I'm not really sure why they haven't offered an extension to Duran. I mean, they could have behind closed doors, and his agency team could just be keeping things quiet for all we know, and they're just not coming to the right terms that they want, or they just don't see Duran as being someone that they're going to keep here long term, which I kind of completely agree with because if you look at Jacoby Ellsbury, he's a perfect kind of example to throw in there. A guy that steals a tons of bases, who's super quick, who's a great leadoff hitter, who's a lefty. I mean, he was the greatest thing to the Yankees for us. I mean, he was great for us, and then stole what was it, 200 million from the Yankees and did nothing. And that's and I mean, I don't mean to say that he's you know what I mean. He's not Mookie Betts. I'll put it to you that way. I mean, does he have room to grow to get there? Sure, yeah, of course. I mean, any player does, but I mean, right now, I think there's just a lot more off the field
Question
issues
marks.
with him than there is with Christian Campbell and the other guys. But again, to give those guys deals right now before they've even proven to actually play in a major league game is kind of
Do you think it's
uh,
possible that he doesn't want a deal from the Sox? He wants to bet on himself and
that could
test
be
the
the other
market
thing
when
too.
he gets to that point. I
That could
could
be the other
totally
thing
see
too.
that from him too.
That could be
Just
the other thing too.
testing the
But for
waters.
me, it's just so repetitive behaviors of the Red Sox ownership to just lowball. That's just the first thing that comes to mind is that
And he
that they
knows that.
lowballed him, and yeah, and he knows that. And at the end of the day, they have all these kids coming up that are left-handed bats, so it's like whatever, If you don't sign Jaron Duran long term, you put Christian Campbell as your leadoff hitter, or Roman Anthony as your leadoff hitter. But again, they still need to prove themselves in the majors. So I don't know why. I love all the talk and I love the guys, and they're going to be great, but they need to come up here and do it. So Chuck Day can't come soon enough. I think it's what 70 days till spring training, if I'm not counting.
It's not that far
And
away.
Yeah, it's not far away.
Nebraska's got an
It's
advent calendar until truck day.
chocolate each day.
I'm
And
surprised
then
you
yeah,
don't
no,
fucking drive the trucks at this point.
I know I gotta go meet Wally and all those guys. And I know Wally's over there. Not another Wally that I know.
Yeah,
He's
we know.
always over there on not
There's
the
a
Wally
real
the
Wally.
mascot, this other guy Wally. The real Wally.
The
He's
real
typically there on truck day. So I actually might try and get over there this year. And
Wally
see
can
what
do a
that's all
lot.
about.
Wally can do a lot of things for you. Sometimes you show a picture of Wally to somebody, and a magic door opens, and somehow you're inside the stadium, and it's just like, oh my goodness, what a fantastic
Whoa,
quality
is
day it
that
is.
Jeff Chimenti from the Grateful Dead?
Sam, one thing I wanted to mention was, and I don't know if you have any insight on this, was that Japanese free agent,
Oh yeah, I
Roki
do. I
Sasaki.
do.
Yeah,
We
what's the
are
deal with him?
out. We're out.
Okay.
So the Dodgers, the Blue Jays, and one other team, and it's not the Yankees. I forgot the other team. It's escaping me right now.
Giants?
They are. What's that?
The Giants or no?
The
No,
Giant.
I don't think it's Giants.
Oh, those
It's
are
the
out. Yeah, they're
Dodgers,
out.
Blue
Giants are out.
Jays,
Mets and Yankees were
and
in on him, but he
the
said the
Yankees are no
Mets and
longer. And
Yankees are
he
out.
said no to the Yankees, so thank God for that.
Giants,
I don't blame
Yankees,
him
and
at all.
Giants, Yankees, and Rangers are out.
Yeah.
Apparently.
So I think it's on like the Dodgers, the Blue Jays, and one other dark horse team. So, I mean, it is what it is. The Dodgers are going to be a powerhouse. At the end of the day, the Dodgers are what the Dodgers are. We've beaten them once. Again, it was a completely different year. But again, that team was still stacked.
It was.
You know, it was a stacked team up and down. Justin Turner, Manny Machado, like people forget that. It was a really, really good team that we beat. So I'm not really concerned about that
I
because
think
you get hot.
we need to hope that he goes to the Padres because it looks like it's down to the Padres, Dodgers, and Blue Jays. So
That's the other team.
Get
Thank
him
you,
out
the
west.
Padres.
Get him out west.
Ship him
And
out
more
west.
so to the
Get him out
Padres.
west.
Even if he was in Toronto, it's not going to move the needle that
Heard that
much
before.
because they don't have that much. And I don't know why he'd choose Toronto, but whatever. It's him.
He's
His choice.
Ship him out west has been a movement since day one on this podcast.
Judon.
You never know who's going to be making their way out there. Any final thoughts
Giovanni
here on any?
Dubai.
Yes. Okay. Well,
back to Hawaii.
We're at the point of the episode where usually the big guy takes us into it.
Should we try and do it all at the same time?
I mean, we've tried to do that before, and it's just been an epic.
We should just have a button
I got an
that
idea.
just goes.
One of each one of us says "oh," the other says "yeah," and then the other one says "yeah," and then it says "oh."
I don't know, man.
Who's who? I mean, because
Who's
my
on
screen
first,
looks different.
Who's on second?
Who's on
I mean, that might have
first,
been good enough to just lead us right into it's
Yeah,
oh
I mean,
yeah
that's
and
just-
yeah
yeah.
oh.
What do we got? What do we got?
I got a yeah-oh for no, not a yeah-oh, sorry, an oh yeah for the playoffs. I've been liking some of the games. I have been. I think the 5 days of college and then football playoffs in a row has been really great. I actually have enjoyed it. I don't think it's been too much. I haven't tuned into every single game, and I think that's the beauty of it is you don't have to. There's so many to choose from. So I like it. I think it's great. I think it's an oh yeah for me.
I got another oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Oh,
the Boston
yeah.
Bruins are selected as the 2026 team to play in the NHL Stadium Series against the Tampa Bay Lightning, and it's going to be in Tampa Bay.
I can't wait
Sunny
till the
palm
ice melts.
trees.
So like it could be like an oh yeah turn into like a yeah oh
So
real
wait,
quick.
so like
As
the
soon
Winter
as-
Classic kind of a thing where they play
Correct.
outside, but they're playing
Yeah.
hockey outside in Tampa.
It's gonna be at
And they're-
night.
They're
so
doing the
that
Winter
helps.
Classic in Florida as well this year. So there's
That's
a lot of
fucking stupid.
question marks right now. I'm like, do they?
What a
like-
waste of electricity that is to keep that
They're-
fucke cold.
How do you
They're gonna-
how do you make the ice
And
under
ace-
those
ask
conditions?
Jared.
That's my question.
They're going to be playing
That's Jenny.
water polo.
Someone's gonna go to someone's gonna fucking tear an ACL from the ice. Fucking, it's gonna slide right in and
You
stop.
got better,
Oh,
you
they're
got
gonna
better
lose.
ice on Frog Pond in the Common right now, probably.
Fuck,
honestly.
jeez.
Probably. I legitimately do want to know though, like, what if you get a 75-degree day and you can't, like, what are we doing? And
Air conditioners, man. That's what's keeping that fucking shit cold. That's gonna be expensive. That's gonna be an expensive energy bill right there, dude.
Well,
Outdoor stadium though,
you
right?
and
I think the NHL can fit the bill.
NHL and Eversource or whoever, runs shit down there. I'm sure though. I'm sure
There's
Eversource
got
will
to
be the
be
fucking official sponsor of the game.
there's got to be some type of thing they can put under the ice that keeps it like at a certain
Well, that's
temperature or
yeah.
something.
They'll probably have like those like
Baseboard
copper
cooling.
coils.
Yeah.
No. Probably, I think they're like copper coils or something stupid like that. It's like what's in an air conditioner.
Well,
They might need John Sewer.
we have a
John.
we get the job done.
If you want to sponsor us, always looking.
Oh shit.
We may have some action on that side of things, actually, fellas. We'll have to talk about that when Big E is back, but some exciting prospects potentially as we move here into 2025 on that side of things. But yeah, it'll be fascinating to watch the Bruins. Outdoor games and outdoor series is a fantastic thing that the NHL does. They should really do more of that. It'd be awesome to almost take the whole league and have them go somewhere, almost like I don't want to say Vegas, that just comes to mind with a place that leagues will go sometimes. But if they did some sort of in-season tournament, that's an outdoor tournament like that could draw somebody into the NHL. So look at that. We're giving free ideas to Gary Bettman now here.
A Pie alumni.
Yes, yes,
Yeah,
yes.
boy.
uh, one thing we got to touch on that is a sad
Yes.
is
Very much
on a
so.
serious note.
And yeah.
Obviously, what's going on out on the West Coast, specifically in the greater Los Angeles area, with all the fires that are going on. Obviously the video and the images that you see across social media and on the news are terrifying, apocalyptic, whatever word you want to use. It fits the bill. It hits home, I think, for a lot of people all over the country
Mhm.
because it's a part of the country where people have a lot of friends and family, and so people have lost a lot out there. It's a sad situation to see unfolding, and one thing that just boggles my mind with this, and I want you guys to chime in as well about it, but the people that are out there that are starting fires, like I don't understand what's happening. Like that's just baffling to me. But anyone want to touch on this situation that's it's really taken over
Yeah.
the past couple of
Yeah.
days?
I actually I have family out in Sherman Oaks, which is very, very close to almost an evacuation site right now. So prayers out to my cousin Shelly, his girlfriend Wendy, and my cousin Hannah. Hopefully they're doing all right. But yeah, I mean, it's I saw on Reddit today, and I'm not we're not getting political at all. Elon Musk tried to buff himself up and make himself look good. He like brought a camera in to talk with the people from the LAFD, and he tried using like calculations and stuff like that to like try and like pretty much say that it was the LAFD's fault and all that stuff. And when the firefighter, the chief of the LAFD or one of the assistant chiefs kind of spelled everything out, he said, there's just essentially there's not enough hydrants for them to be able to put out all the fires that
And the
are going on.
manpower. They had a
And
budget
and
cut.
and exactly, and the manpower on top of that. I mean, they have. This is insane. Only here that you would see this. You would have people that are incarcerated that are firefighters that are getting paid. It just boggles my mind. They're getting paid the $8 an hour to go fight fires and risk their lives. And just, I mean,
So
it's terrible.
It's a bungling of a situation. Go ahead, J Man.
I was watching the like LA fire chief say in a news conference, and she said that even if they had 1,000 more engines
Yep.
attacking this, it's such a phenomenon of what's going on right now with these winds and just how fast everything's moving. She said it wouldn't have made a difference, unfortunately. It's just what's happening right now is just it's really Mother Nature. You really can't stop what Mother Nature really wants to do, which is really sad. But Mother Nature always wins, which is really unfortunate. But there's nothing they could have done. And they're trying their best and they're really doing all they can with the resources that they have. And people like Musk can go F off, in my opinion.
Yeah.
With that,
Shout out to
with
Canada
what he was
and
saying.
Mexico for helping us out
Hell yeah.
with the
Hell yeah.
tankers and the helicopters.
Good
That's huge.
allies. Good
Gabe,
allies for sure.
any thoughts on what's going on?
Yeah, obviously super tragic. It's terrible to see just, they have those maps that show just how much has actually been affected and burned. And yeah, it's just really eerie. It's sad. I personally don't know anybody close in that area, but still doesn't mean it doesn't affect me. It's just really sad to see, especially if they're there's a lot of rumors on how it started, and if arson is the cause of all this, like America just has, I'm sorry, I'm getting political, but we just have a serious issue in
Yeah.
America if we're just starting fires that are, killing people and destroying homes, and there's just a serious issue.
Yeah, well, to wrap on that, there needs to be severe punishments for anybody that uh, might be participating in any sort of arson activity. I think that the destruction that's been done out there and the real world effect that it has on the people that live out there, and not just obviously the people that have lost everything, but the impacts. And we've had some brush fires and things that have been around here over the past couple of years where uh, not directly here, but you walk outside some days when that stuff's going on and you can't breathe the right way, and it's not good for people with respiratory issues. And this is impacting all of Southern California, from down past San Diego, probably into Tijuana in Mexico, and as far up, the California coast. I don't know if it's getting up to San Fran, but it's a crazy situation. Unfortunately, it's a part of the country that this stuff happens somewhat frequently. And this time it's just on a unprecedented sort of level there. So that's a little bit on the LA fires. But as we try to do here on the podcast, we turn yeah ohs into oh yeahs when we can. And some really exciting news is this past weekend was with cousin Sam, drummer of our one of our favorite bands, Ripe, who will be jumping on the podcast with us next week. So we'll talk a little Ripe, some exciting stuff to talk about on that side of things, fellas. But
Listen to Ripe.
Sam and the band moved out to LA a couple of years ago to once they signed their record deal. So they're out there and they're efforting along with other bands and artists in the musical industry to rally together. So Sam will have some info on what they're doing to combat everything going on out in that area next week. So that's part of the reason he's going to be jumping on with us. But we'll talk Ripe and their background as well. So excited to have Sam join us. And last thing on oh yeah yeah oh, but it's sort of a oh yeah, I don't know. I know we've had Barstool people on the podcast. We've been really fortunate to build a relationship with several different people there. But obviously, I think some huge news that came out from the whole surviving Barstool thing was that Dan Katz, Big Cat, Newton North Tiger alumni. I
Wait,
think that
what?
some people knew that. Other people didn't. Did anybody see this? Did any like I was
I
I
thought
Yeah,
he
was
was from
I was ban
Chicago.
I was bamboozled. So all right, we have a
I
lot
was
to dive
so
into.
thrown
Gabe, go
off.
ahead.
Yeah. So
Whoa.
yeah, I saw this, and Dan Katz, Big Cat, he came out on one of his podcasts, kind of saying like, this has really been eating me up for like
Well, can we
kind of
back
my
up a second?
yeah,
Because
yeah, sorry.
so this he did say that, and I'll let you pick it up from there. But surviving Barstool's going on, the big production we've talked about a little bit with some of the people. And when Kirk Minahan got eliminated, he turned to Big Cat and goes, "Little Dan Katz from Newton, Mass." And it
Oh,
was like, wait a minute, what? He's from Newton? So Kirk Minahan, that fucking pot
Outed
stirrer,
him.
absolute.
Yeah.
Like, there's a lot of angles to this story. Gabe, pick it up from then
they're in
Big
the
Cat comes on
pot.
the podcast.
Yeah,
Wow.
So
yeah.
pick
Big
it
So
up from
I
cat.
there.
I
Love
haven't
it.
watched Surviving Barstool, but I've heard great things about it.
Very
I
good
definitely
show.
want to check that out. But yeah, so then Big Cat kind of goes on his podcast and he kind of goes into it further, saying how he's really been embarrassed about kind of coming out and telling people where he's from, just because everyone knows him as the Chicago beat guy. And so he kind of goes into how he's like seen like psychiatry, and like he's just not he's not ashamed anymore to tell people that he grew up in Massachusetts, and
Yeah.
I don't know, to me it's like a little fraudulent. I mean, my father was born in Philadelphia, and he roots for all Boston teams, and we all rag on him for that. So it's kind of like same situation. Like Dan, I mean, he lived in Chicago. He does like those teams, but to be like blogging about it and rooting for those teams and just like having the Patriots and all those teams on the back burner, I just feel like it's a little fraudulent. But I still love Big Cat.
Yeah, love Big Cat. And J Matt, Kraz, I believe this might be the first you're hearing of this.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't
Yeah.
know.
I'm surprised. That's awesome.
I mean, being
Big
from
Cat.
Boston, it's like, let's go.
Yeah,
We got
dude,
another
let's
one.
Hey,
go.
Big Cat, the invitation. If you want to hop back on the Boston sports fan wagon, you can be
Bro,
a Boston
Gus, the
sports brother if you
coach,
want.
everything, dude.
We're here for it, you know. So
Pickles in the salsa. You had the best salsa recipe, Big
open
Cat.
invitation, buddy.
I think
Welcome aboard.
my takeaway from it was I agree a bit with what Gabe said. Like it's crazy that he's from here and was rooting for these teams growing up and then went out there. And I understand they kind of went into the background about why he sort of kept it on the down low. And Hank Lockwood, who's on PMT with him, and a guy that did grow up here, talked about like there were people at Barstool that were the Neil from Chicago and Mo from Philly, and like they didn't live there and they got absolutely crucified. So from that standpoint, like they kind of wanted to keep that under wraps. But I get it and I don't, because what I don't understand is that Barstool is a Boston-based company, and you had this guy that was running Chicago and doing all that. And it's fine. You want to be fans of whatever fucking teams you want to be fans of. Like, it's clear that he's invested in Chicago. Like, there's no doubt about that. But what I don't understand is, like, why didn't you appeal to the OG Boston audience with the fact that this guy was from here? And it's sort of, I don't know. It's convoluted. It's crazy that we're 20 years into Barstool and like this
And now
sort
we're
of
just finding
becomes like
this
a
out.
huge story now.
Wild.
Like,
I'm happy. Honestly, like I'm happy for Big Cat because I'm sure that was a huge weight off
oh,
his chest.
absolutely.
Especially like being judged in social media constantly on a daily basis. I'm sure it's hard to let one of your biggest secrets out. And I hope that people don't turn on Big Cat. Like I said, a little fraudulent, but at the same time, like he's been such a pillar to Barstool since the beginning.
My favorite
You
guys.
can't hate Big Cat. Like he's
No.
the fucking man.
No,
And him talking to Big Poppy and asking him how much he can bench.
Yeah,
yeah, like
like he does so much more than
So
just
good.
for Chicago. So
right. He's
a
a
national brand.
yeah, he's a
Yeah,
content machine. Like
Stella
And he's a
Blue, Stella
deadhead.
Blue coffee.
He's a
Come on,
deadhead.
He's deadhead, yeah.
yeah, he does it
He's one of us.
it kind of Crass took the words out of my mouth. Like everything with him kind of makes a little bit more sense now.
Yeah.
But yeah, went
A lot
to
more sense. We love you,
Oh,
Big
yeah.
Cat.
we love Big Cat. We'll continue to be proud supporters of Barstool, but that was just like a wild, wild sort of situation that transpired
Great
uh,
news.
in the last week as well. But I would love for them to appeal to it a little bit more, and the fact that he's from here now, and now that that's out there, lean into it. You got a built-in audience here in Boston that absolutely loves Barstool. So to know that the top two sort of head honchos of Barstool are from this area, it's no surprise why they're doing as well as they are. So with that, anything else on the yeah train? And I think that might wrap us up there, boys. And the penalty box is free and clear for the time being. The Bruins, we'll see. That door can swing open at any time, as we know. The Crafts have gotten out for the time being with the hiring of Vrabel. And lots of games for the Bruins and Celtics on tap this week with the Pike. And obviously we talked about the college football playoff national championship next week, so we'll be recording right before that. So it'll be a little bit before we have commentary, but should be a great game. And obviously we'll recap what is typically the best weekend in football, the divisional round next weekend, final matchup being determined, but lots to get to next week. Any parting thoughts, gentlemen?
I'm ready for a big right-handed bat to sign in Boston and like let's solidify this team and let's start pushing the spring training, baby. Let's get longer days,
Great
more
start.
sun.
Great start to a Patriots offseason.
Yes.
Got Vrabel. Let's keep that train rolling in a positive direction. I'm excited.
My takeaways for the Bruins is they got to start putting up points, especially in the division. It's not put up or nut up time right now. So let's go.
Undoubtedly, we'll see if the Celtics, obviously with a shitload of games on the schedule, can sort of rise to the top once again, and that'll take us home here into another episode of the Boston Sports Brothers. As we talked about, next week we got Sam from Ripe jumping on with us. We also have a really really special, sorry J Matt and Big E and Kraz to a degree, but JV from URI's jumping on. We're going to do a quick roadie basketball and college basketball minute with
Why
him.
would I care? I go to URI.
I know.
I like URI.
I just
Just because I like PC doesn't mean I hate URI.
you and Big Cat got something
It
in
was
common.
it was the football kids in that one time that we
He's
were
got
there
the
that I had an
URI
issue with.
colors on
Because
right now.
no,
Yeah.
no, but when someone screams at someone half their size, I don't care who you are. Scream at someone your own size, motherfucker. Come talk to me, asshole. Let's go.
I mean, we could tell that story. We might as well at this point.
Yeah,
What's the
now,
big
yeah,
deal?
let's tell that story.
It's
Let's tell
10
that
years.
story.
It's 10 years in
Okay,
the
let's
past.
tell that story.
We had ourselves a little back to school party. It was actually around this time of year. It was Gabe's senior year, my sophomore year. We lived together, and the football team rolled up to a party that they weren't invited to, and
Whoa, 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 whoa. AK invited a bunch of girls that happened to be friends with these football players,
yeah,
and
so
just invited all of them, but didn't let the football players in, but let the girls in.
the address was leaked. Let's put it that way. And we were inundated, and we didn't have a big enough house to accommodate everybody. And we had 30, 40 football players trying to get in the door in a full house. And a few of our stand-up API brothers guarded the fort like their lives depended on it. Max Weinstein
As for an
took
ID.
took fucking IDs from people like. Just an unbelievable series of events that night. But
And
they
then Goldman started getting screamed at by some kid that was like my size. So
yeah.
I
So
saw this and I'm like, hey, motherfucker. I was under the
there
influence of
was we
alcohol.
we avoided any physical confrontations, but it was the
Yes, I knew
classic
one of the football players. He was in kinesiology with me, and he was just like,
AK,
let
the
me get our
big
friends
AK,
back.
the big AK,
No,
man.
Sam Kushner. Sam Kushner.
You had
Shout out if you're
you had
listening.
our little shithead AK, and then you had Big AK, who was on the football team, who was a friend of the fraternity. So it was your classic fraternity sort of sports team misunderstanding.
I was
Needless.
probably in my room talking to Lefty or something.
Oh yeah,
Not talking to Lefty.
Lefty,
I,
Lefty was a great friend. Lefty brought a lot of good times to Hollywood and other addresses along the way. He eventually, he was a super duper senior and dropped out.
no pun intended.
Literally dropped. So that was the end of Lefty. Left Coast, look it up if you get it, you get it. But that all right. So a little bit of story time here. Maybe we'll get into some more stories. I think people enjoy that. We all have a long running history with one another and some
We
good
have
times.
lives besides sports.
Yeah, we have
Yes.
Some funny stories along the way.
yeah, we'll have to think of some. We got
Oh,
Gabe.
I got plenty. Don't you worry.
Yeah, yeah. So we gotta also, I mean, so it's a couple of Route 66 buses up to the J Woo for some nights
Oh
up with
yeah.
J Mad and a
Uh,
few. We'll have to go into the all-time
Gabe and I.
Providence underage bar scene. Uh,
J-Matt and I used to go visit Eric at UMass.
Oh
Like,
oh, the zoo,
yeah. The
the zoo mass
zoo.
was a time as well. So yeah, we'll get into some college stories and some other you know
I think that'd be fun.
nonsense that we've gotten into over the years, and maybe we'll have to have a new segment here at the end of shows, the time capsule or something.
I like
Ooh,
that.
the time capsule.
Yeah, all right. Look at us workshop and stuff this evening. All right. That's enough of going. J Matt said we may go off the rails. Not too off the rails,
Not too bad.
but
we're
we
getting
went on
close.
went on a little side quest there, and perhaps we got a new segment out of it as well. So excellent stuff as always, gentlemen. Always great to see your beautiful faces, near, far, wherever you are. We thank you for tuning in. We'll see you next time.
Peace out.